In a world where sports is king.
Tell your friends, tune in. I'm expecting a barn burner. It already has been.
Two men embark on a journey to cover everything in the world of athletics.
I do want to toot my own horn. I did say last night, take the over.
Chuck Hammer and Jordan Campbell star in the blockbuster hit of the year.
What do you want me to do?
Shoals Sports Talk. Featured alongside Clay Travis.
I got a lot of good things going on in my life.
Dan Patrick.
Russell Wilson Jr. III.
Colin Cowherd.
What did Kansas City do to get Patrick Mahomes? Got up to 10.
Chuck Oliver.
That's what it took for UGA to finish that high rankings-wise.
And introducing the boys of the press box.
In your mock draft, you had them going to the Indianapolis Colts.
I give a casual look to the NFL, but I'm more of a college guy.
We'll have you in the press box again sometime soon.
Playing everywhere good radio's heard. 97.9 Fox Sports Shoals.
Welcome in to SST.
Hello, sports fans.
What would you say you do here?
Sports.
The only local sports talk in the Shoals with Jordan Campbell and Chuck Hammer.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
High school, college, and the pros. Chuck and Jordan talk it all. Want to be part of the show?
You're talking Macho Madness.
Call or text 256-764-1340.
You got what I need. Here comes the brand new flavor in your ear. Time for new flavor in your ear.
Total coverage.
Football,
Basketball.
baseball.
A whole day of sports.
Now, here are your hosts, Jordan and Chuck.
Welcome in. Shoals Sports Talk coming to you live on a Thursday. Jordan Campbell here in the Fox Sports Shoals studios. You can get in contact with the show in a couple different ways. You can find us on Twitter at Fox Sports Shoals. If you want to talk to me, I check my Twitter more regularly. It is at Cam on all. Of course, you can find us on Facebook. You can also find us at our phone number. You could text the show or call the show. 256-764-1340 is the number to call or text. We're going live now because I know some of you would like to see what it's like to do a sports radio show. And I apologize, we only have one camera. The only camera that we have is focused directly at me. So I apologize to the YouTube audience and the Facebook audience. But we're working on it. Hopefully we've got a few more cameras coming in here soon. And we're going to give you a glimpse of Chuck and myself and all of these different things that we've got going on here. There's a lot we want to get to today. Of course, we're going to talk about the Rogers State Championship. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program. We're going to talk about, I don't know if you guys have heard this Johnny Manziel story or not, what he plans on doing. He was on the Greenlight podcast, which is Chris Long's podcast, and so we'll get to that and much, much more a little later on. But I want to start the show by taking a phone call, and I'm not 100% sure who this is. Who do we have on the line today?
Coach T.
Hey, Coach T. What's up, buddy? Sorry, I didn't have your number pulled up.
It's great to be a Pirate, Rogers Pirate today.
That's right, man. You guys go down there, win a second state championship in 3 years, and, man, that had to be a ton of fun being down there in the Bill Harris Arena and bringing home a blue map once again.
Yes, it was the atmosphere was great. Fans are great, and the girls played their tails off against a more athletic, I think more fast, taller team.
Defensively, from the broadcast, it sounded like defensively is what really separated Rogers from Anniston. Cheyenne Hankins had a great game. She had a tall task shutting down Alicia Dudley, who I was talking to a kid who plays basketball at Brooks, varsity boys player. We know how talented they are. He said Alicia Dudley's a walking bucket, man, and Cheyenne Hankins did a pretty good job of keeping her from killing the Pirates today.
Do you know how many she ended up with?
In terms of how many points Dudley?
Yes.
Let's see here. I can tell you in just one moment if I can get this thing pulled up here. I think, Coach T, off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure. I think she had right around 14, but I'll be able to tell you here in just 1 second. I think she had right around 14. She had 15. I was a point off.
15. And that was some of those about like in the fourth quarter she hit. I'm talking about the NBA three. One of them was.
Yeah, deep.
But Cheyenne done a great job on her. I mean, that that's one of those untold stories that people may not know, but she done a great job on her. And I think Emma Ahoney had one of her best games down low, keeping number 35. I can't remember her name, but she was at least 6'1", and she kept a lot of rebounds. They had a lot of misses, but we got the rebounds. So
right.
So that was that was a big key in the game. I thought boxing out and just getting rebounds, getting those second chances, or only giving them one chance to score. But all in all, it was a great game. They scared me at one time because we was up by 7, and I think they came back and took the lead with 1 point. And I was like, "Oh, maybe we're fixing to, what's going to happen?" But just like all year, our girls and the third quarter was big, so kind of wore them out now.
Yep, you're exactly right. Brooke Jones, I don't know if people realize this. Brooke Jones had a double-double, 13 and 10, and she had that with like 4 minutes, 3 minutes to go in the game. Brooke Jones had a fantastic ball game today. Rogers just played solidly all the way around, and they're going to get to celebrate for another year as the reigning 4A varsity girls state champions. I mean, let me ask you this, Coach T, because you've been a Rogers guy for a very long time. If I would have told you 4 years ago, hey, you guys are about to win 2 state championships over the next 3 years, what would your response to that have been?
I'd probably say, I think we should have won last year, but I would have took it. I would have took it.
Right.
I knew they had the talent to do it, just didn't know if they really could do it. Just because we usually don't have height. If we had a Ruthie at Lauderdale County, if we had somebody like that, I could say we could probably won 3 or 4 in a row.
Right. Yeah,
but
might have.
But our tallest person's 5'8" on the floor, and I think at least last year, Gabby, I don't think she's 5'7", maybe.
Yeah, Gabby was not very tall. Brooke Jones is listed at 5'7", so I mean, it's sort of marvelous when you think about it. And this is no disrespect to any of the Lady Pirates, this, Coach T. But you look at this team of girls walk into the gym, and to a layperson who doesn't watch them play, doesn't know Coach Prestage, doesn't know what Coach Pettis brings, doesn't know what Coach Krieger is able to do, you look at him and you say, okay, there's nobody here that is like, that's the reason that team is unstoppable. And again, that's no offense to Maddie Krieger. That's no offense to Aaron Brown. They don't have a 6'4" post that is just dominant. They don't have a player with the speed of a Taylor Akerson. You've just got 5, 6, or 7 girls who are really good athletes and who do what they are coached to do.
That's right. I mean, it's you can tell it comes down to coaching, and you could see that very well in this championship game. Every time Blake called timeout, he had a play drawn, and we got points off of it.
Right.
If we didn't get points off of it, it was in and out. I mean, it was a great shot. We just didn't fall for us. But to me, Blake's done a great job this year. Maybe more so than the other 2 years, but he's by far overlooked a lot, I think, in this area.
Yeah, and I think at this point in time, if you're not giving Blake Prestage the respect that he deserves, that's on you. I mean, again, 2 state championships in 3 years at Rogers, which was not known as a varsity girls powerhouse on this level at any point in time before 3 years ago.
Just think about.
Now, you could see it building. When Gloria Pounders was a freshman,
and she
won one of our players of the week.
Yeah.
You could see it building. But even then, if you would have told me, hey, they're about to go on a 2 blue map run here over the next 3 years, I would have said, no, you're crazy.
Look, and again, I mean no disrespect, and I know this person didn't mean disrespect.
By the way, Chuck is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, they didn't mean. So don't take this the wrong way, but it was the just God honest truth back then. I had somebody come back and said, who is Gloria Pounders and what is Rogers girls basketball?
Yeah.
And at that point, that was a very pertinent question.
But I think Gloria and Blake Prestage have done an excellent job of answering that question.
Yeah, they've answered that question. And we saw back then, I'd like to think that Jordan and I and everybody that was involved with Fox back then looked at that program and said, this is an up and coming team.
Yeah, but I didn't expect this.
No. I mean, I don't think. No, I knew they were going to get better. I didn't know the ceiling was going to be this high. I still didn't believe in the team 2 years ago that they would make that run from never being to Hansville to going all the way to Birmingham and winning it all. This year, I thought they absolutely could, but I thought that it was a little bit of a crapshoot because of COVID and everything that everybody had to deal with. And you just didn't know from game to game, week to week, some teams look better than others. I mean, you saw that with Deschler and Rogers. The only reason I didn't believe in Rogers this year was because once I saw them play against Deschler, they looked like the state champs. The next time I saw them play them, they looked awful. And credit to the Pirates for bouncing back. And I guess that was the last time they lost a game.
May have been, yeah.
Was when we saw them lose to Deschler.
The one thing that we noticed here, but just being in the community, is when we started the Tennessee Valley Basketball Association, and we started playing in that from third grade up, those two teams together coming up, I think Cheyenne and his group, they won over 100 games. And then I think the group above them was pretty close. And then with Maddie and them's teams, we went over 100 games. So you kind of see that when they was young, you're beating everybody around in this area, and you're like, okay. So, who's going to stop them when they get, over and down south? And I always think that the North has got the best basketball in girls basketball for years.
Yeah.
There's always a team that's going to win it. But, like I said, you could see it kind of building, but just to get there, I mean, it's hard. It's very hard to do. I mean, things have to go your way, and I'm just really proud of them because this year, to me, was more adversity that we went through all year. I mean, we lost 8 or 9 games.
Right.
And
right.
But that builds character. Losing builds character, and you find out what you need to do and fix it. You got the pieces to do it, and I mean, it's just a testament of hard work. What hard work does, it pays off.
They may have lost 8 games, but all that matters is they won the last one they played. And that was earlier
That's
today.
right.
and congrats to those girls and Coach Prestige and the entire staff. By the way, some breaking news on that front. I think I talked to Coach Prestige earlier. I think he signed with the Hammer Group as far as his agency representation. So we'll be looking for a new contract.
I feel like that group also represents the Green Hill Mayor on Twitter.
I don't know about that.
Same group, huh?
I don't know about that.
Maybe that wrong burner account last night.
We did ask. we did after our interview, our pregame interview with him off the air. We actually asked him about that, jokingly, of course, about needing a new contract. And he said, he goes, people joke around with me about that all the time. I'm just happy to be here, happy to coach this team, be a part of this school and this program. And you could tell genuinely he cares about being in that community. He's not one of those guys that's it's all about winning state championships. He cares about those girls.
That's right. Hey, I like your hat you had on today, Chuck.
Hey, I had to represent. I know that everybody on
what am I, chopped liver?
Yeah, Jordan's wearing his.
I'm rocking mine
if you're
too.
on the Facebook feed, you'd see it. But I wore mine, and I'm sure all the other media members down there said, God, what an unprofessional guy. But Jordan and I have always said we're not in the news business.
Is anybody shocked when we're pulling for one of the 17 teams
first of
we
all,
cover?
Is anybody shocked that we'd be in the news business? Because we're not. We're in the promoting our local schools, coaches, and everybody, students, athletes, everybody. So we want to, when we get to a point like this in the season, it's the most fun for us because we can openly root for our teams. I couldn't openly root for a team when Deschler and Rogers were playing, but when Rogers played Good Hope or Geneva or today against Anniston, I can go all in with them. So, I had to represent my Navy shirt, my navy blue shirt, my Rogers hat, and I was proud to do it. I'm proud of those young ladies, and I can't wait to see what. Of course, they're going to lose a lot, but Aaron Brown will come back, and so will Maddie, and also a cast of others, including Emily Ahonen. I mean, there's going to be some big shoes to fill. I think next year is going to be very interesting for Rogers girls basketball because, dare I say it, but I think they may have more questions to answer going into next year than they did this season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it seems like, once you lose a couple of them, who's going to replace them, and then somebody steps up. So,
right.
But you was in front of me this morning, Chuck, where you was get to parking. I was wanting to follow you in there.
Yeah, well, you should have. I tell you, the parking situation once I got there, because there were limited tickets, limited attendance numbers. I think supposedly 500 on either side, though. I think Rogers Greenhill snuck about 2,000 in there. The I don't know what the problem was at the parking gate, but it seemed to be the most complicated thing in the world. It was only a backup of about 6 or 7 cars at any one time, but it moved at a snail's pace. I don't know what was going on, but I finally got in there and then didn't know where to go, and we finally got in the gymnasium. So I'm just glad to get back safely. It was a long, long day for everybody. But it's always a little sweeter when you come back with a win, but you've got to be especially excited because now softball season, which has already started, really starts because you get everybody off the basketball team that was having to play basketball now.
That's right. We actually play tonight at 6 when we were game back, so everybody can get back and kind of get a little rest.
Yeah.
But,
you told, I don't know how many, I don't know exactly what the number is. I know Emily's played in the past. I know we said Brooke's going to play. Gracie's played. I guess you just told them, hey, just get a little rest. Be out here at 6 for the softball game. Is that how it works?
I told Brooke, I was like, I expect 3 stolen bases tonight. She just kind of looked at me like I was crazy.
What a way to celebrate on the night of your state championship win. You got to go out and play the next sport. That would be that'd be pretty cool if they actually did that. But yeah, that's awesome, and I can't wait to. And I fully expect to see those young ladies down in Montgomery later on this year.
I hope so. But going back to getting in, that is the worst. I don't want to poo-poo on too bad, but that is the worst setup to try to get in a building that I've ever ever seen before in my life. I mean, there's people going through the line kind of like Chick-fil-A, and they're scanning you're showing them that you got tickets, and they say redeem them. Then you walk up, and then you have to stand in line, and then show the person that you put your car keys and all that, and slide it through there, and they're like, "Well, yours not redeemed. Move out of the aisle or move out of the line." And I'm like, "What?" It's like it was crazy. I'm like,
obviously social distancing was key during all that, right?
Oh yeah.
There was.
Exactly.
I walked up and there was a massive humanity. And here was my favorite part. Just a quick story for me, because I was in the gymnasium, and I don't know if you caught this, Coach T, but near the end of the game, they started making an announcement. I told Jordan this over the PA. They said, fans, after the game, do not come onto the court or you will be asked to leave immediately. And then they would make an announcement that says, after the game, please leave immediately. And I turned to the guy who was sitting on press row with me and I said, seems like the punishment should be a little bit more severe, because at this point, what do you got to lose? If you walk out on the court to get a picture, you're going to be asked to leave. But if the game ends and you're just standing in the stands, you're going to be asked to leave regardless. Now, I actually did get in trouble. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to go on the court. So somebody tried to tell me something and it was really loud, and I just pretended like I couldn't hear them that well. And then afterwards, when I was working in the media room, they told me, hey, you weren't supposed to go out there and take a picture of the team. I said, look, I've had my vaccine. I stayed away from everybody. I'm just trying to get a picture of the team. I'm not trying to run out on the court and celebrate with them. And, it's some of the stuff, some of the rules that they had are kind of strange, but I'm just glad it's over. The girls were able to complete the season. We were able to crown a state champion, and now on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. I mean, and leaving that place was like herding cows. I mean, it was like you had a cop that was yelling at, hey, get out of here, move, come on, move. And I'm like, do you want us to just like stampede? I mean, what do you want us to do? Because, everybody's being respectable of each other's distance and kind of, shuffling their feet trying to walk out of there, and the cops yelling at you, get on, move, y'all quit standing around, move.
Well,
felt like I was in third grade again.
And I don't know what happened to you once you got in the parking lot, but I know I left after probably most other people did. But when I went out, all the exits/entrances were blocked by cones. So I just kept going to different places because I didn't want to go right where I came in at, because I figured cars were coming in for the next game. So I was driving all over the parking lot, blocked in by cones and I knew I could jump out and move a cone, but I knew as soon as I did that, someone would jump out of a bush and I'd be,
Hey, gotcha.
I'd be spread eagle on
What
the
are you doing?
ground. You know, I mean,
What are you doing moving that coat?
I'd already gotten in trouble for walking out on the court. I mean,
Chuck's a troublemaker.
that was one strike, and I'm sure I've got about 4 other strikes against me from some of our previous endeavors. So I was just trying to get the heck out of there, but I'm glad I made.
You think
the
when
trip.
you walk in places like that now, the AHSAA officials are like, "Oh, he's here."
Oh yeah, they absolutely do. They absolutely.
Yeah, you should have said, "I'm with Alvin Briggs. Hey, he's got my credentials."
There ain't no way he's claiming me.
No, they ain't claiming us down there in Montgomery. Coach T, my man,
All right,
congratulations, buddy.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
Yeah,
all right, we'll see you, buddy. 256-764-1340 is the number to call or text if you would like to join the conversation. Congratulations to the Rangers Lady Pirates, and Brooke Jones won MVP of that tournament. 2 blue maps in 3 years.
Aaron Brown on the all-tournament team as
that's
well.
Right. That's right.
You know, if I had to put money down today, if I had to be a gambling man, which I'm not, I would have gambled that would have been our first phone call. I knew Coach T was going to be extremely happy and want to get on the air and talk about his Pirates.
Yeah.
It may not be the last call we get from a Rogers fan. So
yeah, 256-764-1340.
And if you want to get on our Facebook page, Twitter account, we have pictures, videos, graphics. Share, like them, and they're up for everybody to enjoy and use at your own discretion. We don't have any copyrights on them, so if you want to tag somebody or take it and make it your profile picture or what you want to do with it, that's why we make that stuff. So we've invested in a camera. And I've tried to do a little bit better job with our.
I know we and that, buddy. You invested in a camera,
and I'm trying to do a whole lot more graphics. And I know it changes over time. So anybody that's won previously, that seeing things that they've never seen before, it's no special treatment for Rogers. It's just we're getting bigger and better stuff to play with, and I want to do that for every team. Man, it doesn't matter if you're 1A or you're 7A. I want when you win a state championship for it to be special. If we can get down there and cover it, we will. We'll document it, and these are memories that these young ladies and young men, when it happens to the boys teams, they're memories that are going to last a lifetime. I know I've got a short video of it, but I didn't get a picture, and I think there's a couple pictures out there. AL.com took a really good picture of Maddie Krieger jumping into her father's arms. That's a really touching picture.
Maddie Krieger. They called her. What did they call her? I tweeted it out, and I know that it is what it is. I mean, we try and correct these guys and help them as much as we can, and they ignore us. No, they don't, and I don't blame them. I might not either if I was in their shoes. But before,
I'd like to think you would.
Before the game began, somebody called her. Goodness, let me see if I can find it. It was in the pregame. Madeline Kreider. That was a new one. Madeline Krieger. So congratulations to Madeline Krieger and the Rogers Lady Pirates. All right, we're going to take a timeout. I know Bill has been calling. We're going to get to your phone call. We've got to get to a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk to Bill. We'll take your texts. We'll take your calls. Chuck, have you seen this new overtime thing?
No.
Buddy, this is a freaking game changer.
DQ presents How to Find Meal Fulfillment. First, order the delicious new rotisserie-style chicken bites from DQ. Then feast your eyes on these unbreaded, tender, juicy, 100% white meat beauties. Next, take a bite of the bite. Realize that chicken loaded with flavor is finally possible. And last, call your boss and ask for that promotion. You may have started last week, but hey, if chicken this good is possible, anything is possible. New rotisserie-style chicken bites are now a DQ. Happy tastes good.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Employers, listen up. Do you need highly skilled workers for your business? Well, here's some good news. Alabama's Department of Labor exists to be a voice of opportunity for job seekers and their future employers. And they provide employment information and jobs to hundreds of thousands of smart, hardworking, and highly skilled laborers every single day. But they're not just employment offices. They serve as an entire network of opportunity, from tuition assistance, apprenticeship programs, and on-the-job training. These programs are helping Alabamians thrive and can help your business thrive well. With 49 career centers throughout Alabama and more than 25,000 different job postings online, the Department of Labor helps place workers in multiple industries, including construction, healthcare, banking, automotive repair, and retail. So, if you're looking for quality candidates who are ready, willing, and able to help your company succeed, the Department of Labor can help. This message is sponsored by the Alabama Department of Labor, Alabama Construction Recruitment Institute, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
The Ballman family has a long history in the metals manufacturing industry. Ballman Metals specialties include steel, aluminum welding, wet paint, shearing, bending, steel cutting, custom fabrication, and custom assembly. They always say if you can dream it, they can build it. See all that they do on Facebook, ballmanmetals.com, or on Robertson Road in Industrial Park.
Call J.C. Hammond Sons Heating and Cooling when you need a company you can trust. What does that mean? It means they will do their best to fix your system rather than try to sell you a new one. It means that their prices are competitive and fair, and they will stand behind their work. It means doing the job right. Who you trust for your family's comfort does make a difference. J.C. Hammond Sons, your comfort professionals since 1952. Built on satisfied customers. License number AL 83391.
Yes, okay, Jordan.
Our first edition of the Power Rankings came out today, Shano. This is the first one of the year.
Number one.
Who do you think it is, Shano?
Gotta be my boys from Rookie. Gotta be my boys from Sticky.
I love the optimism.
Show Sports Talk, where the fans have a voice.
Welcome back into Shoals Sports Talk. 256-764-1340 is the number to call or text. Again, we are celebrating the Rogers Lady Pirates as they win a state championship. Congratulations to Blake Prestige and the girls from Green Hill. But Chuck, we don't call them the Buccaneers in blue. I learned my lesson on that. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. The Iron City Assassin, Bill, on a mobile phone, not connected to the Wi-Fi. What's up, buddy?
Oh, heck no. I'm done with that.
There we go.
I'm on my car where I get a signal most of the time. Listen, Roger's fantastic. I was so happy to see that. Now that I'm hooked up and liking and follow SST, all these updates all along, and I'm really enjoying seeing different teams and how they did. Hey, guys, I'm going to kiss your butt a little bit. And really, honestly, from my heart, thank you guys for everything you do for the kids. And it's just wonderful. It really is, because they deserve it. You know, at high school, you ain't thinking NBA. You ain't thinking Major League Baseball. You just want your kid. You're in school. You love the competition. You're doing what you want to do, and you're enjoying life as a darn kid, you know. And for you guys to give them that boost up and do what you do and go cover games and talk about them, that's special. It really is special, guys. And I just want to thank you for that.
Well, we appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, we do it for the kids. That's what we do it for. As Tony Kornheiser would always say on his show, we do it for the kids.
Yeah, but Chuck, I got to tell you something, man. I think we're kind of kindred spirits. I'm hearing stuff about you going mafia and stuff at events and pushing your way through and going out on the floor and taking pictures when you ain't supposed to.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're talking about moving cones and breaking the law and stuff. Man, you're my hero.
I don't know about that. I think more so than the mafia.
Chuck is a big Judas Priest fan. Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
More so than the mafia influence in my life from watching all the mafia movies, because that's as close. That and Italian food is as close to the mafia as I'll ever get.
Yep.
Is the fact that the guy who brought me up in radio, the first guy I ever worked for in radio, taught me, when you go to a venue, whether you're covering an event and just attending it, you walk through every stop sign there possibly is. You go everywhere you want to go, and you act like you belong. And gummit, you ask for forgiveness, not permission. And you know what? To this point, it's worked. Now, they may send me an email tomorrow and say, you're banned for a year, and it may end up biting me in the butt. But so far, I've been able to get away with it this long.
And then you know what you do? The very next event at that place, you walk in and dare them.
Yeah, that's
you just walk on in.
That's probably what I would do too, to be honest with you.
I do. It's like, yeah, I dare you. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Hey, I got you. Hey, really quickly here, Bill. We got a couple. We got a couple comments on Facebook. Pat writes in and says, as an outsider, I thought it was two very well coached teams. Both teams had mutual respect for each other and the game. Both fan bases were respectful, well called game by the refs. Best of the best, just the way it should be. In the end, it was the little things and the foul shots. And John writes in and says, Roll Tide Pirates, so proud of my home girls. Thomas Bill writes in and says, Roll Blue, so proud of our ladies. One of the basketball coaches, Troy Pettis, the 1994 Lauderdale County Male Athlete of the Year, still awaiting that trophy or that statue outside of the gym there. But he says Roll Blue. So a lot of support coming in for the Lady Pirates
I think
today.
he's going to be waiting even longer because Blake Prestige might get the statue before him, right?
I don't know, man. I'm telling you, the way that Jacob Fowler has pushed this, the way Jacob Fowler has pushed this thing for Troy Pettis to get that statue, I don't know. I think that there is look, I'll say this. They got the right guy as the superintendent to get the Troy Pettis statue built. Okay, that's all I'll say. Sorry, Bill.
You know, if you help, makes off.
I'm sorry, Bill. Your phone line is awful today, man.
I think his phone line went back to it jumped back on the Wi-Fi somehow.
Are you getting stabbed?
Yeah, I think I'm back. You hear me?
Yeah, we've got you for now.
Dude, I think it's a mess. That's what I think was.
Bill, I think we gotta let it.
Bill, we're gonna have to cut it off and try again, man. I mean, this thing is. I'm getting about every sixth word right now. Okay, so we're gonna cut it off. Feel free to call back in just a second.
I don't know what the hell. I don't know.
Did Bill just get sucked down a black hole?
I don't know what happened there at the end.
I don't know.
I think that feral cat attacked him.
It may have.
I think that's what happened.
It may have. Okay, really quickly here. 256-764-1340. Is that the number? That's the number, right? 256-764-1340. If you want to join the conversation here, at any point in time you want to call in and talk about the Rogers Lady Pirates, feel free to do so, or send a text, or if you're watching on Facebook, you can comment. We're reading the comments today as well. Let's see here. John writes in and says, congratulations to Troy Pettis and Blake Prestige and all the players. Roll Blue. So, Chuck, I know that you're kind of monitoring that over there as well as the text machine. So I will let you do that. So here's what I wanted to get to. Not to move off of Rogers, because anytime anybody wants to comment or call in, feel free. But here's what I wanted to get to. Since I have started full-time at this radio station, college athlete empowerment is something that I have been in favor of. Just have been, right? Hey, I think you should be able to move, because if Brian Harsin wants to leave Boise State and become the head coach at Auburn, he don't have to tell anybody. He could just go, right? If Nick Saban wants to leave LSU and go to the pros and then come back and go to Alabama, he can. There's no waiting period. So kids should be able to transfer as well. And I know some people hate it. Some people say all-out free agency is bad for college athletics. I mean, I don't necessarily think so. It's a different conference. I'll say this, right? Jake Coker, didn't Alabama win a national championship with Jake Coker? Did you hear anybody saying this one didn't count because Jake Coker was a Florida State transfer? No, you didn't hear that, did you? So what I'm saying is I'm in favor of kids being able to move. I don't care where you play. I don't care if you move. I'm not in favor of kids being paid to be college athletes. I've said that my entire life. I'm okay and in favor of them being able to profit off their name, image, and likeness. If Chuck Hammer Chevrolet wants to get Blake Deaver, the quarterback at UNA, to sponsor his Chevy Silverado Truck Month in the month of April and pay him $10,000 to do so, no skin off my back, go for it. But the University of North Alabama should not be paying that kid. I just want to set that forward. That's my opinion. I think there's been a little bit of a pushback because there hasn't, for people that are pro athletes being paid by the university, and I know how much money they generate for the university, there's been a little pushback. And I think one of the best arguments, I have to admit, is there is no alternative for these kids. There's no alternative for these kids. It's either go the college route, make money for everybody else except for yourself, or don't get to play at the next level. Well, Overtime, which is a sports media company, you can check out their clips. I mean, Chuck, they do what we do on a much bigger scale. We cover in-depth 17 high schools, and on Friday nights, you'll see video clips with our calls to them, and we'll interview a coach from Rogers and a coach from – they're doing this across the country.
I thought you meant they read Jose Canseco's tweets when
you
said
they're not that good yet.
Okay.
Only us, right? So Overtime does what we do with a much bigger budget on a much bigger scale, and they've got cameras, more than just one. They've got a bunch. They'll do documentaries. If you've ever seen the documentary on YouTube about the coach that never punts in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Overtime.
Private school, yeah.
That's Overtime who did that, right? So let me read this for you. Let me play my sounder here. I haven't played my sounder in a while.
And now it's time for a segment we like to call Jordan Reading.
Thank you, big voice. All right, so a new league shot at the NCAA, $100,000 salaries for high school players. The Overtime Elite League proposes that providing a salary and a focus toward a pro career might be more appealing than college basketball's biggest programs. So this is by Kevin Draper. You can find it and read it for yourself at nytimes.com. A new basketball league backed by a sports media company is entering the intensifying debate over whether student athletes should be paid by starting a venture offering high school basketball players $100,000 salaries to skip college. The league, Overtime Elite, formed under the auspices of the sports media company Overtime, would compete directly with the NCAA for the nation's top high school boys by employing about 30 of them. So this isn't going to be a whole lot.
And I think this is much smaller than what was planned on the example I'm going to give. Before you get any further, this almost is very similar to LeVar Ball's idea that he threw out there, 2 years ago?
It is very similar to the Lonzo Ball Junior League. I don't know what the name of it was called, but you know what the difference is between...
Let's be honest, LeVar Basketball Association, it had to have his name on it more than likely. But this sounds similar.
But you know what the difference is?
What's the difference?
This is a company that already has a backing because they are a sports media company that has made so much capital.
Yeah, because LeVar wasn't going to bankroll that himself.
Big Ball Brand was not going to bring in enough money for him to run a league that was going to pay the kids the type of money they needed.
But these folks,
Overtime can.
And
what I would imagine, now, I haven't gotten all the way through the article yet, but what I would imagine is Overtime, because they're a sports media company that broadcast they don't necessarily broadcast, but they do a ton of video, et cetera, et cetera. They're probably not going to sell the rights to this to anybody. On the face, it would make sense for Overtime or for ESPN to pick it up, and they might sell individual games or the playoffs, but they can put on this product all on their own, right? Here's what you do, in my opinion. You broadcast this product all on your own. You sell it. That's all revenue to you.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why I think this is a good idea for the kids. Now, I don't know how long this is going to last, but the thing that I've always thought is probably the same thing some of you have thought as well. Well, what happens if this league folds? It is a risk on the part of the kids. However,
everything's a risk.
It is.
Every single thing.
But here's what would ease if I was one of the top 20 players in the country. Here's why, and I came from nothing. 6'4", came from nothing. I'm just a baller. Here's why this league would be hard for me to turn down. Okay. $100,000 minimum salaries. Now, some kids are probably going to earn more than that. I mean, I think overtime is going to have to go into negotiations with some kids to keep them from going to college, because I still believe that college is the best route right now, but in the future, it might not be. We already saw a number of kids go the G League route, and I think you're going to continue to see that depending on what the money is. $100,000 minimum salaries. They're going to get health benefits, so disability and health insurance, and they're going to get equity stake in overtime. Add to that, Chuck, this is why. This is the one thing that if I'm one of these top 20 or 30 kids is going to make me want to go to this league. And I want to expand this talk beyond basketball, because I know we may not have a ton of basketball fans out there, and that's okay. The thing that makes me want to go with this league is they say, hey, if you go through our league or whatever, and you decide not to pursue a professional basketball career, we will pay your college tuition up to $100,000. Chuck, you can get a quality education at D1 universities, which I know D1 universities are, it's about athletics. It's about athletics.
But you can go.
But like a lot of people want to go to what we consider a D1 university. You can go, Alabama's a D1 university. Auburn's a D1 university. Those programs, though they're academic institutions first, I've made that argument for a long time. How many people go to, I'm not saying all, how many people go to those universities simply for the experience outside of the education? A lot of them do, right?
No, the vast majority.
A lot of them do. Now, I believe that a lot of kids go places, A, because it's close, B, because that's what their family tells them they're going to pay for, or C, because it is what it is. But I do think there are a lot of kids that go places for the education. Long story short, if you go through this and you don't get drafted and you're like, I don't want to go overseas and play, my mom is sick, I want to stay here, they're going to pay for you to go to a university up to $100,000. Now, we may see restrictions come down the line where they say, well, we'll pay up to $50,000 or something, because $100,000 for an education is a lot, right? But all in all, that kind of makes me look at it and say, man, I don't know how, if you're a kid in that position, you don't go that route, man. Now, it's not going to be every kid.
Now you said, hold on, they're looking for 30, roughly 30.
The number that I'm seeing is around 30 kids. Now, that's probably going to expand.
And this is for basketball, right?
It's for basketball now. And the conversation that I want to get into is if this works for overtime. And I don't know how they're going to make money off of this. There's obviously money to be made.
2 or 3 teams?
I mean, let's see. If you got, 10 kids per team, that's
3 teams.
3 teams. If you go 7 kids per teams, you can stretch it to 3.5 teams. I mean, maybe 4. Maybe you expand it to 4. Let's go 40 kids. Let's say they expand it to 40 kids, right?
No, I'm just trying to wonder what the league or what they're trying to put together is going to look like. I know it's in the beginning of the process here. All the details aren't out, so there's a lot of there's a lot of room for speculation here.
Yeah, I mean, there is. But what I'm saying is if this works, if basketball works for overtime, if basketball works, what keeps overtime from extending over to football? Because let's face it, that's the one that has been the most difficult one to figure out in terms of an alternative for kids. Because right now, kids can go overseas at a high school or, once they turn 16 or whatever.
Because, man, football is just going to be, I mean, if you can – it depends on how much capital they have, how much money they have to play with, because football is going to be infinitely more expensive.
But here's the deal, though. Here's what I'll say, and this is the argument that I've said before. To me, it doesn't matter what type of talent they get in this league. It's probably not a league that is going to generate just a ton of viewership revenue.
Well, let me ask you this. The G League pulled, and I didn't know this until I was listening to the Odd Couple on the way home last night. I know. Don't yell at me. I was listening to that show on the way home. I didn't know that 2 of the biggest prospects in last year's high school class went to the G League.
Yeah,
last
couple guys,
and they're making $500,000. I'm telling you, and they talked about next year's number 1 recruit going to the G League and being the first one to surpass $1 million for his 1 year of service there. I had no clue that those guys were playing there, and I plan on, even if I was a basketball watcher, a pro basketball watcher, I would not watch that.
No, I mean, that's the thing. People are still going to watch college sports.
We have minor league baseball, and it's not driven by people watching it on television. Certainly not driven by people watching it on television. And
minor league baseball is floated by the parent organizations or Major League Baseball,
and that's what the G League is.
and you go for dollar beer night,
and that's what the G League is.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, as long as that's sustainable, then yeah. Now I wonder if overtime can do it, because obviously they're not the NFL or they're not the NBA.
Rebecca Krieger key messages on the Facebook and says, "Congratulations, Maddie and the Lady Pirates." All right, let's go to the phone lines. Andrew, what's up, buddy?
Hi, I'm just calling to comment on the basketball thing. I'm all, as y'all know, because I've made this statement on multiple occasions before, I'm all for the students, the kids, the players getting as much out of their ability, their skill, their talent as they possibly can get. I want them to succeed at a level that's and receive the benefits of success way more than they do now. But I do find it really interesting that the same people who seem to beat the drum real hard about how much these players are being exploited, I don't think they understand the dynamic from the standpoint of it's college basketball has not probably been a very big benefit to the top 25 or 30 players each year, the guys that are sitting there at the top to get drafted. What it's made a difference for are the, nearly 300 teams in the NCAA Division I that are eligible for the tournament, or 350 teams. It's
right.
The 3,500 guys that are on the bottom side of that are no chance of ever really playing in the league, but all that revenue pays their scholarship. All that revenue and interest gives them a place and 4 years of education. I mean, in a weird sense, it's kind of like socialism. We're going to take the efforts and the money that these top 30 could have made, and we're going to use it to provide benefits to 3,500 people that otherwise probably wouldn't exist. Now, it's it's not that granular. I'm not suggesting that as soon as those 30 are out, every college basketball school is going to shut their doors, and we're not going to have Kentucky Wildcats anymore, or we're not going to have Duke Blue Devils. I'm not saying that, but I do think it is sort of the first steps towards that creeping down that path. I mean, it's probably already not quite as popular of a sport. I certainly know it isn't for me. I mean, I still think about guys like when I was in high school, I could tell you all the guys, Scotty Thurman and Corliss Williamson and Ed O'Bannon. I could name guys that played in the tournament. If they're not playing for Alabama now, I don't know who they are. I just don't keep up with it. And I think that's probably true for a lot of other people too. Maybe that says how old I am since I'm naming those guys off. But I think the point being the interest in the NCAA basketball is only going to get less and less and less. And y'all know when the interest dries up, the greenbacks dry up too. And if there ain't money in it, there won't be scholarships in it.
I guess my question is, and I agree. I mean, if the interest is gone, there won't be scholar. But my question is, and maybe you laid it out there, Andrew, and I just missed it. Why do you think people aren't watching anymore? Is it because you don't get, I mean, because there's so much of a push of one and done guys? I mean, again, like you take a look at it, the best teams, in my opinion, the teams that have made deep runs over the past few seasons in the NCAA tournament, and the teams typically at the top, are the teams that have some of the elder statesmen that are there. I mean, Alabama's in this position because you've got a guy like John Petty and Herb Jones that are older and experienced and know what it takes to win in college basketball. I think back to the Buddy Hield team. He was a senior, like at Oklahoma. And I think about some of these older teams, or some of the teams that have been really impressive. They've been older teams. Why is it that you think the interest in college basketball is going down? Is it the style of play? Or is it the fact that you have a lot of one and done?
It is the one and done. It is how I would describe it is like this. When Shaquille O'Neal played, so again, I'm aging myself here, but I guess you can tell when I paid a lot of close attention to college basketball. When Shaquille O'Neal played, everybody knew he was going to be a transformational player when he got to the league. I mean, you didn't know that about Jordan. He was great when he played, but nobody said Jordan will change the league when he gets into the pros. Everybody knew that about Shaq, but he had to play out his time in college. And everybody wanted to watch and see what he was going to be. They were anticipating it. Now, you want to talk about before my time. It was Magic and Bird and the rivalry that existed there. I mean, you can't say it's a small school thing because, I mean, what was that, Indiana State?
Yeah, Larry Bird went to Indiana State.
Larry Bird went,
Yep.
and you couldn't have told me that people knew more about Larry Bird than knew about anybody in the NBA back in 1979 and 1980. They knew about Magic and Bird before it was Magic and Bird. They were anticipating that because you had two of probably the very best players on the planet going head to head. So it's a lot of different cuts. You're taking a lot of the talent, the best talent, out of basketball and pushing it to the pros. All right. So now you don't have the very best talented players. The next thing you're doing, and hey, I guess I can't say too much about this, but you're also taking what little talent there is left and you're spreading it out over 300 schools. You don't get quite as much concentration as you used to get. Yes, I mean, you still get some dynasties, if you want to call them that or whatever. But I just don't think that Davidson or Butler cranks the trigger that evidently Duke or Kentucky could when they were at the top of the game.
Well, here, let me ask you this really quick, Andrew. In 2004, were you watching a ton of college basketball? 03, 04, 05, around that time? I know Shaq and those guys played a little bit before that, but were you still interested in college ball then?
I did, but only because I was in school at Alabama.
Right.
So I was going to the games as a student.
The reason that I bring that up, the reason that I push back just a little bit on today, and maybe for you're not watching it because there's a lot more one and done guys, and I get that. One and done is probably more frustrating for a basketball fan than guys going straight to the league from high school. It is for me, even because college basketball suffers from it. But take a look at the 2004 NBA draft. Dwight Howard was a high school kid, number 1 overall. Sean Livingston, a high school kid, number 4 overall. Robert Swift, a high school kid, number 12. All these are high school kids. Telfair, number 13. Al Jefferson, 15. Josh Smith, 17. J.R. Smith, 18. Darrell Wright, 19. Now, you had kids that didn't play a lick of high school ball in the 04 draft, and I'm wondering how much interest there was in college basketball in 04. The reason I say I'm wondering is in 04 I would have been, golly, I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't old enough to pay a whole lot of attention to college basketball at that point in time. So my question is it really all that different, or is the frustration less with kids not going and more with, hey, I want to see team A, team B, team C be good consistently and get to a point where I can learn who these kids are instead of, 9 kids from Kentucky are going to the draft in 1 year.
Don't laugh me out of the room. But let me try to equate what I think college basketball's turned into. And I was just thinking about this while you guys were having this conversation. We see different levels of popularity and viewability and successfulness as far as getting the product out there and how it's being consumed across all of the leagues, whether it's professional or college, in a variety of ways. You think about the NFL. The NFL is the number one. It's the holy moly. It's the number one. Everybody watches it. It's you'll watch the Monday Night Football and you don't have the Titans in the game.
Yeah.
So it carries a crowd wherever it goes. Then you look at basketball. Basketball has become more of a global game. It's become more popular. I think more people in China watch the NBA than do in the United States.
There's 1 billion people there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely popular the world over.
That's why those guys at the top don't say anything negative about China.
Exactly. It's popular the world over. In baseball, and this is the one I'm getting at, baseball has become what? It's still popular and relevant.
It's regionalized.
Regionally.
Yeah.
And I think that's what college basketball has become. Because when you get into, again, outside of your Duke joke, people here care about who?
What joke? You mean my Duke fact?
Yeah, people care about what? Who? Auburn, Alabama, and
Kentucky,
obviously
to a
with
certain point.
UNA right, down the road as far as a small school goes. But people care about. But I'm not driving home tonight going, dude, Michigan State and Iowa are playing tonight. I've got to see that. And I think that's. Do you think I'm right there? I think what you've seen is college basketball is still popular, but I think it's very regionalized, and people are very loyal to the team they root for, especially if they're going through good times.
I agree with you, except what I would say is that's kind of what I was mentioning at the beginning when I'm saying it's not an immediate transition. The changes in the sport are going to happen, incrementally over time. And what's happened is that where college basketball used to dominate the national story, when it was about Magic and Bird, or when it was about Phi Slamma Jamma, or when it was about what was going on with Arkansas, or when it was about what was going on at Houston, or when why can I name all these things, guys? This is 30 years ago, but I still talk about it. There's not been a team that's attracted that kind of national interest in like 20 years.
I would
except for
say
here and there, we have a Cinderella story, where everybody goes, oh, we're going to get on the bandwagon, and it's Gonzaga, and it's Adam Morrison, and then he gets to the league, and he becomes a joke.
Or it's based around a nun that roots for the team.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly right. It's no longer about the talent and the players, because the talent and the players has moved on. It's not there anymore. And part of what you said, Jordan, is true. You don't get to know these guys. They just are gone. If you're going to be a fan of the NBA, I guess. If you're going to be a fan, and I'm not saying they play bad basketball, but I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're going to be a fan of talented basketball, you might as well stick with the NBA, because the guys never get a chance to develop in college anyway. So, and I'm not against it, because I want the guys to succeed, but I do think if you're going to go down that path, that you better be ready for out of these 300 schools, there ain't going to all of them be able to keep a program. It's not as expensive as a football program, but it still takes some money to keep them up. And they may have to change some of the attitude that they have about their basketball programs.
Well, the thing with this is it's only going to affect, with this overtime elite league, it's only going to affect what? Less than 1% of college basketball. I mean, if they stick to 30 guys, yeah, Duke's going to miss out on a guy. Kentucky's going to miss out on 2 or 3. But in today's basketball, Alabama's getting 5-star basketball players. Auburn's getting 5-star basketball players. These Arkansas, these programs, it's not Duke, North Carolina, UCLA, Michigan, Kentucky, and maybe one more Kansas. It's not there's 6 that get the top 50 guys and then nobody else gets one. Like in today's day and age, I think the talent is starting to be spread out more and more, because kids are realizing, oh, okay, I want to go to the league. I can get to the league by being the man on a one and done team with some really talented players. For example, Sharif Cooper type player, right? Almost every year up until the past 2 or 3, and I know Auburn had that run in the Final Four, which probably attracted him. But up until really the past 3 or 4 years, that kid, who most people at this point in time consider a one-and-done player, would have been at Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Michigan, UCLA. I mean, one of the blue bloods. Now he's at Auburn. And Auburn had a good run, but ultimately, Auburn's basketball program, I know under Bruce Pearl, has been pretty good, but it ain't a blue blood. But he said, you know what? Isaac Okoro went there. They went to high school together, I believe. Auburn made a little bit of run. I can go there. They're going to have some talented players, and we can make a run. And even if we don't, guess what? I'm still going to show them good enough to go to the league. So I don't know.
But don't you think Sharif, don't you think guys that are in his talent scale, because I know you say overtime can't, and probably you're right, but it's not just overtime, okay? It is the G League. And if hey, listen, the NBA is not run by a bunch of idiots, okay? If they turn around and look at it and they go, all right, it cost us X amount of dollars to draft a guy in the first round, not only the value of the draft pick itself, but it cost us this much money to draft a guy in the first round. And we're picking him up one and done out of high school. Or is it going to be better for us to stick him in this development league where we can see if he's any good or not, right? And yeah, there's some expense associated with that, but it's better for us from a financial standpoint to go that direction than to guess on all these other guys. I've always thought that was the method that the NFL had lucked into without figuring out a better way of saying it, that college football is like the ultimate development league for them.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I mean, and talk about a way to luck into something so that you don't have to like build it from the ground up. I mean, I'm sure Major League Baseball would just fall over themselves to have that opportunity, but they don't have it. And what can you say? But I that's the direction I'm afraid it's going to go. It's not going to go down. It's only going to go up. And good for the players because, hey, make your money. But don't come crying when college basketball, and I hate to say it like this, it sounds dismissive, but it dips to the interest level of college baseball.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing you worry about. That's the one thing you worry about. But I think, Andrew, you and I have had this discussion on the radio a bunch of times. Like, I would feel bad for college basketball fans, but ultimately, I want what's best for the kids. And look, man, if you can tell me I can go get paid and I ain't got to spend a single second studying for a biology test that I ain't never going to use, pay me, baby. Pay me. And yeah, it is going to suffer. There are going to be, like, Kentucky is going to miss out on some kids. Kansas is going to miss out. Duke is going to miss out on some kids. Figure out how to win around it, man. I mean, I don't feel bad for Coach Calipari or Coach K or Roy Williams.
I don't feel bad for the coaches. They've made their millions.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy that's 10th or 11th guy on the roster that's doing enough to get a scholarship, but you know, we're going to run into a position where basketball is just not important enough to give that many scholarships out anymore.
Yeah,
like baseball.
Yeah,
I mean, how many baseball? Yeah. How many baseball scholarships are there?
11.7.
That's right. So we're going to get down to where there's only 7 or 8 basketball scholarships, 6 basketball scholarships. I mean, it could happen, guys. And that I hate that those opportunities aren't presented to those guys anymore. Yeah. That would be where I would fall.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
All right, guys.
I agree, brother. Hey, we appreciate the phone call, Andrew. Always good to hear from you, buddy.
And I may be in the extreme minority, but I believe college basketball still has quite a bit of staying power because for the most part, especially unless you're a fan of, and let's be honest, there are people kind of like me. I root for my small school, and I have a bigger school that I root for because obviously my small school will probably never win a national.
You're back on the Illinois train after being off of it for 3 years. Now they're good. You're back on it. Okay, just making sure.
I mean, but you see that here. People that are UNA fans that probably go and have season tickets are also Alabama basketball fans.
Yeah, well, they leave UNA games early.
Yeah, well, especially with the football, but basketball too. It's schools like that, and there are a lot more UNAs and UT Martins and UT Chattanoogas and Tennessee Techs in the world than there are Dukes and Alabamas and the others. It's about the name on the front of the jersey more than it is the back of the jersey. Now, look, there are kids that go to those schools and become stars. But again, a star in a league like that, even a star in a league like that has no guarantee to ever play professionally one day. So again, I think college basketball does have some staying power for a big part of the university systems because people care about those universities and just seeing them compete in basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, collegiately at that level. Yeah. So I think it's still got staying power. What I will, and I'm to the point where I've always been an optimist for all these leagues that have come about. This overtime, whatever it's going to be, XFL, just name all the startup leagues that have AAF or whatever it was, AFF, whatever it was. I've always wanted to see these things work. I thought it would be interesting to see them work. But Jordan, I just don't know if anything, even the G League, which is pulling in players, minor league baseball is a part of this conversation. At what point does any of them actually attract that much attention?
I don't think they're outside of these independent leagues are looking to attract attention. This overtime league, the XFL, the AAF, but the ones that are attached, minor league baseball, the G League, they could care less if nobody shows up.
Right.
They could care less. All they want to do is get a guy like a Jared Harper or a Bryce Brown and see if those guys can develop into something they feel can contribute at the NBA level.
Yeah,
if they can,
it's a little bit different model there. But let's be honest. Going back to, let's go back to the ones that have to attract the eyeballs, like the XFL. If they would have been able to lure somebody over like a Trevor Lawrence, and again, I'm not talking about a mass exodus to college football. I'm talking about a Trevor Lawrence, a one or two big player. I mean, does that save that league?
What those leagues are going to have to do, and I think had there been any long-term sustainability to that, what those leagues were going to have to do is they were going to have to get a Trevor Lawrence, played 1 year at Clemson, took his team to a national title game, looked like the greatest quarterback prospect we've ever seen. And then for what would be his sophomore year and junior year, get him to play in those leagues. Because I'm telling you, like, you can hear about the hype of a high school kid all you want. There's very few high school kids, Chuck, that we look at outside of the kids we cover here in our area. Like, how many times have you heard me talk about a kid from California? Dude, this kid's raw. I can tell you the one time that comes to mind for me, Zion Williamson in high school. That's it. That's it. Maybe I mentioned Najee Harris when he was in Antioch. Maybe we mentioned Najee Harris when he was in it. Maybe, but we don't do that very often. And I don't think kids care. And I think we've had that conversation with Andrew before. I don't think people care about these kids until they see them in a uniform. And it's either the uniform they pull for or the uniform they hate. That's why they're interested in that kid. Those kids go to a minor league system. Like, how many kids, do you know how many baseball players, Chuck, would blow away any kid we've ever seen? And we're in an area where we had a number 7 overall pick in Brax Garrett, a number 8 or 7 overall pick in Ryan Weathers. You've got legitimate major league talent going out of high school here. You know how many kids have been picked in the draft that would make those kids look like they had never played baseball before? And you never hear about them until they make it to the majors. Because we don't care about the number 2 pitcher that got drafted by the Rockies. We don't care about him. But had that kid been a football player who played at Arkansas, hey, let me check this kid out, dude, see if he's any good. Like, I don't think people care at all about these kids outside of who they are representing and whether you hate or love that university or that team that you're representing. And ultimately, with a league like this, there's going to be opportunities, I believe, for overtime to make money from this. But let's all face it. The question is, what is going to come along that forces college football to lose some of their talent? Because I believe that you can lose as much basketball talent as you want to the G League or this overtime league. As long as college football is rocking and rolling, everything's going to be fine.
You're not going to hear, you're going to hear a peep, but not much more than a peep.
And look, by the way,
especially in this part of the world,
baseball scholarships are at 11.7, not because people aren't watching it. It's because they have to cap it because there have to be the exact same amount of female scholarships and male scholarships. So I would imagine, and Chuck, I don't know this, you might know, softball, college softball, are those like 16, 17, 18, like full scholarships? I know you're going to have some walk-ons there, but it's not 11.7 in terms of scholarships like baseball.
I can look it up.
I don't know the answer to that. If I had to guess, given what we know about Title IX, it would be full scholarships for softball and then the 11.7 for baseball, which, I mean, look, I get it. You want to have equality. I'm all about that. There need to be the same amount of scholarships for female athletes as there are for male athletes.
12.
So it's 12 for softball.
Yeah, I'm seeing the number 1. Division I softball programs can give out a maximum of 12
so
scholarships a year.
It's the same.
These can be a mix of full ride or partials.
And I think that the baseball can be a mix of full ride or partials.
Yeah, they can be.
Well.
They absolutely can.
So
be.
It's the same.
I mean, that goes across any sport. I mean, you get a total of this. You don't have to give them out as fulls. I mean, you can give them out. You can split them any way you want them.
That makes sense. Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I figured
so you
that
get 11.7 for baseball, 12 for softball.
That doesn't make sense to me. I
well,
don't.
you're probably trying to make up for football on most campuses.
No, I'm
you
not
know?
saying that it doesn't make sense that softball gets 12 and baseball gets
okay.
It doesn't make sense that it's not like a full 15, 16, 17, 20 scholarships there. That's what I don't understand, but it is what it is. That kind of blows my theory out the window a little bit. But ultimately,
sorry,
it's
just a fact.
ultimately, baseball and softball don't have less scholarships, I believe, because people aren't watching their sport.
No, it's not based on
that's
that.
not
No,
why. That's not why you have less
not
scholarships.
Not at all.
All right. Well,
they don't.
Bill was there, and then he was.
I'll tell you why baseball didn't have more scholarships. Period, is because any campus that has football, you're seriously handicapped by football. Yeah. Trying to make up for those scholarships on the women's side.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of athletic programs, especially on the leaner side, that have to cut sports like men's soccer and men's tennis just to get enough women's scholarship to equal out to have a baseball team, to have football, to have men's basketball, to have and not much more than that. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a couple of programs that I'm more familiar with than others. You know, football is just the one that is it's a killer.
Well, let's just pull up UNA really quickly. By the way, Wesley texts in here, and you can join the conversation on
men's
the text
golf,
machine.
I've seen men's golf go away on some campuses.
256-764-1340. Wesley texts in and says, Jordan, to your point, Team Ignite in the G League is full of lottery picks, and most casual fans can't name 3. Casual basketball fans could probably name 3 players on Alabama or Kentucky just because of the name on the front.
I was shocked. Again, if you're just tuning in, going back to what I said earlier, I was shocked to hear Chris Broussard, and I'm not a super huge college basketball aficionado.
We've talked so much college basketball this week.
I watch it. I watch my teams play. I watch it casually. I mean, very casually. When the tournament comes around, I'll watch it more, just like most people will. I had no clue that 2 blue chip recruits went to the G League last year. No clue.
Yeah.
No clue. Don't miss them. Don't know who they are. And frankly, again, and this is me throwing a hypothetical out there, but if Zion Williamson would have been that guy this year, I probably would not. Again, I don't want to speak in certainties, but I probably would not be watching the G League just to watch Zion Williamson.
I might look for his highlights on Twitter. That's what I would do, but I'm not going to watch.
I'm not going to watch the Memphis Express take on the Tupelo.
Look, I'm going to be
100%
honest with you here, okay? And this might not be a good look. I love sports, I do, but if it wasn't for what I do every day for a living, I wouldn't be watching Alabama and Auburn and Kentucky or any of these teams playing college basketball. I was just never much of a college I've become a college basketball observer because of what I do as a profession, but when it comes to basketball, I just think all of it is pretty bad right now. I hate the 3-point shooters. So when you take a look at UNA really quickly here, Chuck, just in terms of sports, for men's sports, baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, and tennis.
Right.
Women's sports, basketball, beach volleyball, cross country, golf, soccer, softball, tennis, and volleyball. So you have more options. I also think that I don't think it's listed. For some reason, I thought that they had women's track. I could be totally wrong there. I thought they had women's track.
They have cross country for sure.
Yeah, and it's listed, but I thought they had some track. I could be wrong there. Iron City Assassin.
Well, sometimes schools have club sports that you see and you don't realize that they're club. And I'm not saying you didn't know that, but sometimes people go, "I thought we had a rugby team." Yeah, you maybe do.
UNA has a rugby team. It's a club team,
but they're club. They're not
team.
officially part of.
Are there club
athletics.
track teams? I legitimately don't know.
I think there's a club. Anything is if somebody puts one together, they can be a club. Anything.
That's interesting.
Some of these bass fishing teams, most of these bass fishing teams are club.
I thought all of them were.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's some university somewhere that has put it into their athletics. I don't know.
If UNA hadn't done it, I don't know who else would.
Yeah. Well, you know why that's tough, and it is by the way, that is a co-ed sport, but you know, let's just be honest. There's a lot more males doing that at the collegiate level when you go out there and watch, but there are females that compete, and that's why it probably hasn't been brought into athletics more openly, Jordan, because that's going to be a whole lot more male scholarships until females start playing it more or start fishing more. You don't play fishing, but until you get more females involved in the sport, that's why you see it remain a club activity.
All right. Let's see here. I know we've got to get to another timeout. The Iron City Assassin writes in and says, Minor leagues have been proven to find gems. Perfect example, Wade Boggs spent years in the minors, turned out to be one of the best hitters of all time. Hockey minors have done it too. Chuck, tell me if you know any of these names. Jalen Green.
Never heard of it.
Jonathan Kuminga. I think we talked about Jalen Green on the show before, actually. Jonathan Kuminga.
Jalen Green, by the way, that's like a common. It sounds like a common name. It could be somebody I could have watched play yesterday.
That's a created character on 2K.
Jonathan Kuminga.
Kuminga.
I feel like if I would have heard that last name, I would remember it.
Dacian Nix.
No.
Principal Singh.
Bo Nix's brother?
Yeah.
Okay. No, don't know him either.
Kai Soto.
No.
Isaiah Todd.
Nope.
Those are all guys that are draft eligible in 2021. Those are some of the blue chip guys in this NBA. By the way, this league, this team, this first time I'm looking at the roster here, all those guys are guys that are going to be drafted this year, right?
Did you say, is Jarrett Jack on that team?
Jarrett Jack is on that
Jesus,
team.
He's 37 years old.
Yeah.
He's my age.
Amir Johnson is on this team.
I didn't know Jarrett Jack was still playing.
Bobby Brown got off coke long enough to play on this team.
I'm not touching that.
Dante Hall's also on this team. I'll tell you right now, if Alabama fans,
I'm going to start watching the G League.
If Alabama fans could have one player back over the past 5 years, it'd be Dante Hall.
Yeah.
All right. Andrew writes in and says, not trying to dominate the conversation, but not knowing the names of most of the talented G League players is my point. NCAA has lost out on the attention they would have garnered if they played in college. I get that. But here's the question, or here's the point that I think goes back to it. You're still getting way higher ratings in college basketball. I don't think it's hurting college basketball because these guys, maybe the quality of certain teams, because they would have gotten a Jalen Lee or a Jalen Green.
Hurt the teams that were in the running to get those guys, because they would be much better teams with them than without them.
A Jalen Green, a Jonathan Kuminga, a Principal Singh, maybe any of those guys would have been at Kentucky.
You know what? Yeah, I was about to say, you know what programs are hurting the most from this?
The Blue Bloods that go one and done.
And they're still getting talent.
Yeah, they're still getting talent.
Yeah.
I mean,